with us, as Anna announced earlier. So Anna is stepping in, but I will give you a brief little background on Chaplain Wheeler, of whom Anna has worked with for many years. Chaplain Wheeler has pastored many churches until he found his way to the Arkansas Department of Correction and Tucker Maximum Security Unit as prison chaplain in the early 2000s. He was called to serve Iraq and returned in 2004. He first was assigned to the Cummins Unit and then to the Pine Bluff Unit. In the fall of 2009, after the retirement of Chaplain Sanzate, he was made the ADC head chaplain. Anna would like to share that Chaplain Wheeler was the chaplain at, and so Anna is going to step in here. Okay, all right. Chaplain Wheeler was the chaplain at Tucker Maximum Security Union when he decided to volunteer as a certified religious advisor for the Department of Correction. So Chaplain Wheeler was my home unit chaplain, as Anna says, that provided me excellent guidance and thorough briefing of all the rules. I could not have had more support and grounding in prison work than that which he gave me. One of our mutual friends, Chaplain Dennis Wilson of East Arkansas Unit, says Chaplain Wheeler is a mighty fine administrator. We appreciate his heartfelt embracing of all the people everywhere, no matter what their life story or their spiritual tradition may practice. He truly offers the guidance that all inmates can benefit from, as well as all employees in the prison system. Chaplain Wheeler?
I think appointing Chaplain Wheeler to be the head chaplain when that opening came along was a very good decision. And everybody that works in the prison system in those roles of chaplains and volunteers are asked to support every individual, no matter what their spiritual tradition, and honor their tradition. But Chaplain Wheeler truly lives that place of heartfelt support and really has an open heart and a vastly open mind. And so I'm sorry he can't be here, and I'll kind of clumsily throw out some thoughts that I've had through my experience. Many of you I know, and many of you know, that I've been going down since the early 90s, visiting folks in prisons. In the early 90s, there was a little more freedom than there is now, and I was able to go cell to cell visiting people and having groups. Right now, Louise and Renee and Jim and I go down to Tucker Max to do a meditation life principles support group. And from going to visit folks and doing the various meditation groups, and some of those groups became, I was a psychotherapist for a long time, now officially retired, but doing more therapy with people in prison. For sure, the people that come to a group like that, or who choose to talk to somebody who's a spiritual advisor, I'll say in a minute how one is in that position, they self-select, because there are a lot of people that don't want to sit down and tell you their struggles, or that don't want to come to a meditation group. So the people that choose to come are, in a sense, the cream of the crop. So even though here you are having a group with people at a maximum security prison, many of whom will never get out of prison because they have multiple life sentences, the ones who come to a group like that are the ones who spend a lot of their time reading self-help books and learning to meditate and examining their life history and looking for ways to heal. And if people that are in prison go to the psychologist or go to prison guard, or even in some cases to the chaplain, there is no confidentiality. So if you're sitting there talking to the psychologist, you do not have a guarantee of confidentiality. Now certainly, because of the way prisons work, but certainly as a spiritual advisor, volunteer in the prisons, if anybody was about to try to escape or do something illegal, I'm duty-bound to report that. But as a volunteer in the prisons, I have a little more scope of honoring confidentiality, and I think people have that sense of a little more safety to be self-revealing. And what we see being in that situation is the enormous brokenness of the people. Many are violent, many are cruel, many have done terrible, terrible things. But when they let themselves start talking about their lives, and Dr. Kiltz will be sharing more of this, I imagine, the horrible abuse and deprivation and violence that they have experienced starting from early childhood is mind-boggling. And as a therapist for 30-some years, hearing stories of people in the everyday world, I mean, those stories too are just horrific. But it is unimaginable, the pain and suffering that folks have gone through. And yet they're still wanting to grow and heal and make offerings to others. I think Rini told me this statistic once that the Department of Correction said that if there was 1 in 40 people that was changing and growing and being a good role model, then that contribution of that one person amongst the others they have contact with in the prison starts to develop a safer, more peaceful community within that prison. So we have 25 guys or so in our group. We have guys that, mainly men, that receive our newsletter. We have people we write to and support. People begin their own meditation groups in other prisons with support and guidance. These prisoners that come to our meditation groups tell their friends, tell their cellmates, tell the other people in their barracks what they're learning. They become confidants in a good way for the other people. They become people that support each other. These people talk to their families that come and visit. They begin to teach them the skills that they're learning in these meditation or spiritual classes. This filters down to their children. This goes back to these communities, and those of us who are therapists and who have worked with places, communities in our society where it is almost impossible for me as a social worker to go into some of these homes and subcultures and make an impact. A little old white lady cannot go into the projects and start talking about healthy child raising, but these prisoners can when they talk to their partners or the mother of their children or their mothers or their brothers who are still out in the community. So these prisoners can become change agents. And So in whatever little way this ripples back out, there is healing happening. And I would love it, and my campaign is, if every church in Arkansas adopted a prison and sent volunteers into that prison to lead groups, or to visit, or to write letters, or to help with Christmas, or to help with the Eid feasts for the Muslim inmates. If every church adopted a prison, there would be a vehicle for compassionate caring for folks, and it would integrate them back into the world in a way that they feel cared about. I bet you 80 or 90% of every prisoner I've ever talked to who has let their guard down, a common thing they've said is, nobody ever listened to me. Nobody ever cared about how I felt. And if we can reach back out, and they may never walk out the doors of the prison. If they do, hopefully they have a better chance of staying out, but they still can have a contribution to make. And not only in their own lives, but they can be the mentors and guides for the young people. And then those folks can get out and have a chance. So that's Chaplain Wheeler's talk.